This video is on distributing the negative. And the negative sign indicates the opposite of the number. So the opposite of each of these numbers, the opposite of 8 is negative 8. The opposite of negative 5 is 5. The opposite of x is negative x. The opposite of negative 3x is 3x. The opposite of 1 is negative 1. And the opposite of negative 9 is 9x. So when you distribute the negative, you are multiplying each term within the parentheses by a negative number outside the parentheses. The results in finding the opposite of each term within the parentheses. So this would be a negative 3 times 2 plus a negative 3 times 4x. And that gives us a negative 3 times 2 is a negative 6. And a negative 3 times 4x gives us a negative 12x. So in 1 through 8, we're going to practice simplifying the expression by distributing the negative number. So here we have a negative 2 times g plus a negative 2 times 5. And that gives us a negative 2g plus a negative 2 times 5 is a negative 10. Remember, subtraction of 10 is a negative. Number 2, a negative 2 times a negative g plus a negative 2 times 5. A negative 2 times a negative 1g gives us 2g, and a negative 2 times 5 is a negative 10. Number 3, a negative 2 times g plus a negative 2 times a negative 5 is a negative 2g plus a negative 2 times a negative 5. Two negatives make a positive, so plus 10. Remember the triangle if you need to use it for your multiplying and integers. Number 4, a negative 2 times a negative g plus a negative 2 times a negative 5. A negative 2 times a negative 1g is 2g plus a negative 2 times a negative 5 is a positive 10. Number 5, a negative 3 times 4a plus a negative 3 times 2. Negative 3 times 4 is a negative 12a plus a negative 3 times 2 is a negative 6. A negative 3 times a negative 4a plus a negative 3 times 2. Negative 3 times negative 4 gives us 12a plus negative 3 times 2 is a negative 6, or 12a minus 6. Number 7, a negative 3 times 4a plus a negative 3 times a negative 2. Negative 3 times 4a is a negative 12a, and a negative 3 times a negative 2 is a positive 6. A negative 3 times a negative 4a plus a negative 3 times a negative 2. A negative 3 times a negative 4a gives us 12a, and a negative 3 times a negative 2 gives us 6. So similar expressions, different answers. But what do you notice about the questions in 1 through 8? And what that is in each set, the negative number or negative value change the signs of the terms inside the parentheses. All right. What mistakes might be made when distributing the negative? It would be easy to forget to distribute to the second number or forget to distribute or forget to multiply, excuse me. Forget to multiply the value outside the parentheses. This one's a little wordy. With the second value the second value or second term in the parentheses. So it would be easy to forget to distribute the second number or forget to multiply the value outside the parentheses with the second term in the parentheses. All right, let's practice simplifying some more. We've got a negative 5 times 2x plus a negative 5 times 9. Negative 5 times 2 is a negative 10x. And then a negative 5 times a 9 is a negative 45. Then you've got a negative 2.5 times 4k plus a negative 2.5 times a negative 2. And a negative 2.5 times 4k is a negative 10k. And a negative 2.5 times a negative 2 is 5. Number 11, a negative 1/2 times 6t plus a negative 1/2 times 2. A negative 1/2 times 6t is a negative 3t, and a negative 1/2 times 2 is a negative 1. A negative 10 times a negative 4 plus a negative 10 times a negative 2j. A negative 10 times a negative 4 is 40. And a negative 10 times a negative 2j is plus a 20j. You have got to know your times tables and how to use the things we've showed you how to do, multiplying, dividing negatives. So we've got a negative 3 times a negative p plus a negative 3 times 7. And a negative 3 times a negative 1p is 3p. And a negative 3 times 7 is a negative 21. And 14, negative 2 times 6d plus a negative 2 times a negative 11. A negative 2 times 6d is a negative 12d, and a negative 2 times a negative 11 is plus 22. Write an expression for the perimeter of the rectangle. You know, the perimeter of a rectangle is all four sides added up. So we could say 2, because there's two sides, of 3x minus 2 plus 2 times the x plus 6. And then distribute it. So 3 times 2 times 3x plus 2 times a negative 2 plus 2 times x plus 2 times 6. So that's 6x. Negative 2 times a 2 is negative 4 plus 2 times x is 2x plus 2 times 6 is 12. And then when we combine like terms, 6x plus 2x is 8x. And a negative 4 plus 12 is plus 8. 16. The distance between point A and C is 10x, 0.5. So the whole thing is 10x plus 5. Find the distance between point A and C. All we have to do here is subtract. So we've got 10x minus 5, subtract 2x plus 7. So we've got 10x minus 5. This is understood to be a 1. So plus a negative 1 times 2x plus a negative 1 times 7 gives us 10x minus 5. Negative 1 times 2 is a negative 2x. And a negative 1 times 7 is minus 7. Like terms. 10 minus 2 is 8x. Negative 5. Same sign, add and keep, which would be 12. The expression below represents the area of the rectangle. Find some of the possible side lengths of the rectangle. So some of the possible, let's see, we could take a 6 out of here. If we did the factors of 6. So we got 1, 2, 3, and 6. That's 6. And then we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 6 of 12. So we could do a 6, a 3, and a 2, because they both have them. So let's take out a 6. 12 divided by 6 is 2x, and 6 divided by 6 is 1. So that's one possible side length. And then we could do 3. And 12 divided by 3 is 4x, and 6 divided by 3 is 2. Okay, and then we could do the 2. 12 divided by 2 is 6x, and 6 divided by 2 is 3. So there's 3 possible side lengths for that. Circle any name of a guy who wrote an expression equivalent to negative 8 times 3x. So let's do that. Negative 8 times, let's distribute that and see what we get. Negative 8 times 3x is a negative 24x. Negative 8 times a negative 2 is 16. So that shows us that Mikey has one. All right, they've taken an 8 out here. So if we take out an 8, a negative 24 divided by 8 is a negative 3x, and 16 divided by 8 is 2. So Sam has one because this is the same as that. If we take out a negative 4 like Deja did, let's see what we get. So a negative 24 divided by negative 4 is 6x, and 16 divided by negative 4 is a negative 4. So Deja would work. I can already tell you that one does not work. So it requires a little work to figure it out, but you guys can do it.